Hi, and welcome to this week's Mortgage Broker broadcast. My guest this week is Hayley Creed from the Tiny Mortgage Company, and Hayley's coming onto the podcast to talk about her journey within financial services. She's been in financial services, mortgage services for quite a number of years. She works in NatWest Bank and built a career in there to be getting to a branch manager level. She was an advisor there as well, got a CMAP, but then also as well, she now is a business owner, mortgage broker at the Tiny Mortgage Company. So Hayley's coming on to chat about her experiences, challenges she's faced, what's going on with the Tiny Mortgage Company, and what her future plans are. So yeah, let's just get Hayley onto the podcast. You're listening to the Mortgage Broker broadcast with me, Craig Skelton, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. So welcome onto the podcast, Hayley. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. I'm excited to get somebody that I've never spoken to before on the podcast, and sort of it's good to, and I like that sort of thing because it just then the conversation tends to flow a lot more. I've got a lot more questions and thoughts going in my head, which maybe don't want to can't get my words out this early and thing. I don't want to unsettle you in terms of the and things like that. But yeah, it's just good to get you onto the podcast to talk to someone new and just get your talk about you and your experiences and where you're at and what you're doing and why and stuff like that. So yeah, thanks for coming onto the podcast and agreeing to do this.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So first of all, people that don't know who you are, do you want to just explain who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I'm Hayley. I'm currently running a self-employed as a mortgage and protection broker at the Tiny Mortgage Company. So I've launched in February, so it's not been going for very long. Although I've got just under 14 years experience sort of in financial services, and I qualified as a mortgage advisor back in 2015. So although I'm new to the self-employed kind of element and also launching my brand, I'm not new to it.
No, and I think like looking at did a bit of research before, because obviously I don't know you, we've not spoken before. So we've done a bit of research before looking at your background. So you was at NatWest for quite a period of time. So giving and various different guises as well. So do you think that prepared you for what you're doing now, or did it not help at all? Or
yeah, no, it definitely helped. Obviously, gaining that experience and, like you say, doing various different roles and things, has put me in a great position to have that knowledge and experience to be able to sort of do this on my own. So no, it's definitely probably been the main thing really that I've been able to use, because without it, I think I probably would have been going in a little bit blind.
right, I think it's because you've gone from such a transition from banking to straight into having your own business in effect. So it's that obviously self-employed. So that's quite a leap, which I've seen people do that and do it very well. But then you sort of normally have banking, maybe a state agency employed a little bit, or a mortgage broker employed elsewhere, and then going to be self-employed. So you've just decided to skip that part and go straight in. And is that you? Is that how you work? Is that your mindset, Hayley?
Yeah, so I do actually still work for NatWest part-time on the side. So I've still been able to maintain some of my role, but really reduce my hours. So I had my son 19 months ago, and so when I returned from maternity leave, I decided to go back on a part-time basis, which then gave me the opportunity to actually go, do you know what? I could do something with this, and something that was flexible and something that worked for me around my family. So I guess without that, I wouldn't have been able to kind of do both at the same time. But yeah, it gives me the stability of the employment income still coming through, and then also I get to control self-employed element.
How do you like? I think that's a testament to you, and take not only having a 19-month-old baby, obviously as well, which I'm not a baby, but slightly older than a baby now. But yeah, and how you sort of part-time employed, running your own business as well, and then being a mother. I'm sure time is sort of quite tight, and you have to be structured. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like I'm juggling a few balls at the moment. But I do have to be structured. I have to be quite disciplined. I feel like I'm quite self-motivated anyway. And I do I'm juggling it well at the moment. I don't feel like I'm doing too much. I'm not going to burn out. I guess having that flexibility of being able to not take on too much too soon. I guess if I wasn't still partially employed, I'd maybe feel pressure to want to do too much too soon. So it definitely has helped in that respect, in that actually I do think as well I'm able to provide a better service to my clients because of that, because I've not taken on loads of clients in one go. I've kind of staggered it and gradually built that up over the last couple of months. So it's definitely benefited me.
What is your role at NatWest then? It's obviously still there part-time. What's your position there?
I'm a branch manager.
Okay. Wow. So you've got responsibility as well. You can't sort of, and I think the reason why I wanted to ask that is because there'd be quite a lot of, I speak to a lot of brokers who transition from being in the banking world into then becoming a self-employed mortgage broker. And obviously income, was it down to income that you sort of kept your part-time role doing that? Was that just purely to get this off the ground?
Yeah, I don't intend to leave there, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I love that. I love that job, and I've been there a really long time. And I really appreciate the fact that I'm employed. The benefits that come with that. Things like the sick. If you're sick and things like that you don't get if you're self-employed, and that regular income that's guaranteed. That means a lot to me, and means far more to me than giving it up. So I would actually always like to be able to do both if I can.
Okay, excellent. That's a good take on it. And I think it's quite a unique take from my experience, Hayley, in terms of people keeping the part-time role and having that stability, and especially with you must love the branch manager role and working for NatWest.
Yeah,
So that's clear to see from. I know this is a podcast and people do watch it as well, but like it's clear to see from your face that you
yeah,
still enjoy that aspect of it, and that and I'm guessing that's you still get that sociable side. You've got interaction with people compared to being a self-employed mortgage broker, which is a lot more remote on your own kind of thing.
yeah. No, it could be. I think I would struggle if I just did the mortgage broking solely on its own, because I feel like it could be quite isolating and a little bit lonely. And I am quite a social person, and I like that I've got the best of both worlds.
No, that is better. Like you say, you have got best of both worlds and that is your personal choice, and that's what you sort of choose to do and love doing it. So
Mhm.
I know in terms of, I know there's got people listening thinking, is with regards to your firm, is that directly authorized, part of a network? How does that work?
Yeah, so I'm part of a network. Obviously, there was like a slight conflict of interest concern over the fact that I still work for obviously a lender, but that's all been agreed and all got approved on both parties on the basis that I don't directly sell mortgages through my existing role, and yeah, I just keep the two things very separate. We're the way that we're regulated, of course, means I would never be biased towards anything. I wouldn't gain anything by recommending a particular lender over another one. So there's no real concerns there. I'm able to do both.
Okay. Good. And I think that will be a question that everybody start thinking about, whether how do you, because I know some networks will be okay with it, some networks won't be okay with it. Because I say, even though there's no conflict there directly, but there are still obviously going to be clients that come into the bank from a mortgage point of view and thinking, oh, yeah. And so I think that sort of, I get where some networks have their stance on it and some don't. And that's sort of, that's down to them to understand that. And fair play to you, found a home that sort of is okay doing what you're doing, and that's great for you and seeing the potential in you. So was it always, obviously, like I said, been at NatWest for quite some time, was it always the plan to have a mortgage broker business as well as being employed by them?
No, it was never the plan. So I was a mortgage advisor at NatWest back in 2015, and so that's where I got my qualification and did my CMAP and started off, I guess, in the world of mortgages. And then various other opportunities came up, and obviously I then left that role to move on to something different, doing what I do now. But it was always niggling in the back of my mind that I've got this qualification now, so why not use it? And there's been times over the years when I've kind of, made some inquiries and then gone, oh no, timing's not quite right. But as I say, then going part-time, it then gave me that time and opportunity to really explore it. And I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to go for it. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And at least I can say that I've given it a really good go. And yeah, it was like the beginning, you know, it's like beginning of the new year. You're like, right, what can I do? You know, new year, new me, and all that. And I thought to myself, right, what can I do with my time this year? Other than looking after my little one, which obviously takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah, I'm going to say
yeah. I wanted to do something for me. And I like a challenge, and I felt that I could really do something with this. And I was very aware of the fact that, I mean, it's very stereotypical, I guess, but there's not that many women that get involved in financial things. I read some statistics the other day, you know, whether or not it's how accurate it is, that apparently only 20% of brokers are supposedly women. And I think that, you know, myself included, and, you know, just past experiences from previous clients and customers and things, that people often assume that a financial advisor is a man in a suit and tie. And that's kind of the stereotype, I guess, that people have of financial advisors. Even working in the banking industry, the amount of times I would have a customer say to me, can I speak to the manager, please? And I would say, that's me. And they'd kind of be like, you couldn't possibly be. So I kind of have run with that a little bit and kind of thought, you know what, if I can inspire maybe other women to maybe even listen to, maybe that are even listening to this right now and think, do you know what, hey, I could do that. That could be me. Yeah, so I feel like as a woman, as a young woman, you know, as a mum with a family, why can't I be that person too? So that's why I chose to launch it the way that I did, created the brand that I've created. I still feel like you know, I'm smoothing the edges on that, and I'm still trying to really create my vision of what I had initially. As I say, it has only been a couple of months, so we're still working on that and getting that across to my clients. But yeah, you know, women are just as likely to be applicants on a mortgage. So why shouldn't the mortgage broker or the mortgage advisor also be female? You know, I feel like that builds a really strong and good relationship. So yeah, that's kind of the brand that I'm trying to create, really.
Okay, that's excellent. A great story. I think you're absolutely right. I think the world is changing from a mortgage broker point of view. We are sort of seeing, like they say, the old school, old guard, sort of, obviously they're retiring, moving on. There's newer people coming through, new, like very, like you say, I think, I wouldn't know what the stat was actually in terms of what it used to be and what it is now, but I know there is far more mortgage brokers in the industry, female, than there's ever been before. And it's funny, was on Rosa's podcast, the Money Honey, I think the Money Honey, which is what it's called, and we were talking on there about the female influence on financial services, mortgage services, and there is more brokers now from a female point of view. And I never really looked at it too much before, because whenever I've managed people or managed a team or in my own firm, when I set my own firm up 6 years ago, I was the minority. There was me and 3 females. So like it was just, but that was just the norm for me in terms of where it was at. And I think, but what we're sort of seeing is that there's twofold, which you are testament to, which I wanted to make a comment on, was that being a broker as well, that's first of all, obviously that's one thing that you are, but then also a business owner as well. There are more female brokers coming like now in the industry than before, absolutely. But in terms of percentage-wise, there is less business owners. And I think that's testament to you in terms of, well, why can't you sort of do this? Why can't, it's not even I'm really struggling with the words with it, because for me, I don't like, it's just, you are who you are in terms of your attitude, behavior. If you're a broker, business owner, it doesn't really matter. You've achieved what you wanted to achieve and have that drive and motivation. So
absolutely, I think if you've got the right drive, you've got the right motivation, you know, you've got the right aspirations and the desire to succeed and be successful, then it shouldn't matter. And it doesn't matter. And, you know, I haven't been, I guess, structured with a set business plan as such, something that's on my to-do list, but I did set out with some aspirations of what I wanted to achieve, I guess, in the first year. And it's really taken off, it's, especially when I was a little bit nervous about the state, you know, of the climate at the moment, and I was worried that maybe, you know, am I crazy? Why am I starting out now of all times? But actually, I've achieved what I set out to achieve in the year already, in just a couple of months. So it really has been successful, and you know, I'm hoping that it will just go from strength to strength from here on out.
It will. Like, if you started out on the right footing, then you will. Even though you've not got a plan per se, and it's on your to-do list, I'm sure you'll sort that out. It's just that you've started. And I was going to ask you. That was one of my questions. Is obviously we're getting sort of, we've gone past quarter 1. We're in sort of quarter 2, getting in the year. How because you start January, you said, wasn't it, when you launched this sort of thing? So you're very early into the journey, but I'm guessing you've got traction already in terms of, from a business point of view. If you're hitting what you thought you was going to hit in the first year and you've done it in the first quarter, then wow, that fair. And was that, are you pleasantly surprised by what's happened there, or was that always? I know the numbers weren't part of the plan. I know that, but in terms of where you were getting business from and how you were doing it, is that still the same, but you just got more traction with that, or?
Yeah, I feel like it's just gone better than I expected, and I feel like I still feel as though I've just scratched the surface with it. And actually, there's so much more that I could be doing. You know, things in my mind. I'm thinking about my online, you know, my social media presence, and you know, could I do more advertising? Could I do more networking? Absolutely. But just from the initial things that I've done so far, it's been constant. I'm constantly getting new inquiries, referrals. Almost at one point, it was almost too much, and it was like overwhelming. So you know, I've had to kind of take a step back a little bit. But yeah, I'm super surprised, pleasantly surprised, obviously, with how well it's gone so far.
And is that down to social media? Is that down to one particular thing, or is it just a mixture of everything, sort of brand awareness?
Yeah, so the things that I've done is social, like you say, social media, even just getting friends and family just to share. You know, it takes a second just to click a button and actually just share it. I ran a little giveaway recently, which did really well, and that got me some more shares and things on social media. I live in a relatively sort of small town village in Kent, so we have like a network magazine that I've put advertising in, on my local residents' Facebook page and things like that, and it's all seemed to come from there. Really, I haven't even really expanded outside of that yet, and I feel like there's so much more potential there that I could, if I wanted.
That's answered the question, because I was going to say, my next thing what I was going to ask you was, are you focused on local stuff rather than branching out everywhere? And you've just answered that question. And if it's working for you, then, and I can see it's working for you. So
yeah, I have kind of focused on local. But having said that, I don't know where these people get my details from. It must be from the power of social media. But I've helped people up north. I've helped people in Cornwall. I've helped people all over the place. It's not just been in my local town and area. But I'm trying to promote myself, I guess, as somebody that's a member of the community. I'm your neighbour, and I'd love to help you. And that's kind of how I'm trying to sort of sell it at the moment.
excellent. And with regards to the brand, how long did it take you to? Obviously you'll be tagged in, and people will see the brand already from tagging you into the post when it goes out. But just first of all, like, how did that come about? Was that always there, or was that just something
completely random? Plucked out of thin air, saw something one day. I was trying to create a little logo, and I was playing around with it, you know, and do I use my name? You know, what's best to use? I saw a little logo of a little house, and I thought, that's tiny. And actually, it's just little old me, trying to make it out here in this big old scary world of mortgages. And I wanted something that was going to appeal to people. You know, I'm trying to create that personal sort of element, building, you know, those really close relationships with people, and that's sincere as well. Like, that really is like genuine. Like, I really do care about my clients. I want to get to know them. It's so lovely letting them into their families and getting to know them as people. And I find as well, it's great being able to refer. You know, I've got one client that's a PT, somebody fits security alarms, and somebody does, you know, all these different things.
right?
And you end up kind of getting to know these people, And then hopefully my ultimate goal, what I'm really passionate about, is helping other small businesses to grow.
Okay.
So if I can even just do a small thing to try and promote and help other small businesses, then I feel like I've ticked a big thing off of my list and my desires when I set up this company.
So you're part-time branch manager, full-time mum, full-time mortgage broker business owner, and then now you've got the aspiration to help other small business owners. Where does that where does that come from? Because that's quite unique. You've got enough on your plate clearly right now. Like and I mean that totally respectfully. I'm not sort of saying, "Oh, you've got to like." I think just then looking at thinking, well, that's to helping others is something that you have to want inside. And is that just how you are? Is like from a business point of view?
Yeah, I think it's just how I am. It's just how I am. I guess having set up my business myself, and as I said, I know it's such early days still with my business, but it's hard. It's not easy. You know, there is struggles. You have to overcome those challenges, and the people that have supported me, and you know, even just sharing my posts and things like that, have been other local small businesses. And I saw something on Instagram the other day, and it said, "No one's gonna." Something along the lines of no one's going to hype up your small business more than another small business owner. And it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
So true. And I just want to do my bit. You know, why can't we all help one another?
Definitely. Like you say, I think it is so true. And I think people forget that, especially that local small businesses as well. I think that's the sort of thing you can look at. There's large corporate entities that help national small businesses across them. But then when you've got something that's more local, means a lot more to the community, like a community kind of thing as well. It just helps with you're helping build their brand, you're subconsciously helping build your brand as well. And it's just helping that local community out. And so was that always what you wanted to do ultimately to help you build your brand as well? I know you're doing it because you want to help people out, but was it a case you want that obviously the knock-on effect is helping build your brand as well and your awareness within the local market?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's always part of the plan, and there's still so much more. I've got all these little ideas going around my head that I want to do with it, and I still feel like I could do more with supporting other local small businesses. And yeah, I've got some plans, so watch this space on that one. But something that I'm trying to do is, we're all out here trying to do, is make ourselves different to the next. You know, why should somebody come to me over the next person, over the next broker down the road? So, you know, it's like you say, it's about promoting your brand, coming across as an individual. I like to think I'm pretty down to earth, keep it simple, no jargon kind of approach is kind of a bit of my strap line, I guess. You know, I want it to appeal to everybody. And one of the things that I like to do is I think you might have seen this on my Instagram and stuff, is I send my clients a little thank you gift once their mortgage or their protection is completed. And my little thank you gift has always come from somebody local.
Right.
So it'll always be like a local business. So at the moment, I've got a local baker who makes personalised cookies, and they've been going out to my clients recently. And I'm always making sure that her business card's included in there. So hopefully that in turn will help grow her business. And then maybe in a few months, I might reach out and find something different that could maybe be involved in that. So it's just a nice little to do, really, that finishes off the transaction with that client, hopefully leaves a nice, long-lasting impression on them, so that when they think about doing their mortgage again, they come back to me or they want to recommend me, you know, I'm in their mind. So, yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to continue to grow that. I'm not sure where that will go, but yeah, I'd like to think that I can continue to kind of do my bit for others as well.
No, that's a great ethos to have. And I think what you sort of said is that it's easy to, I know mortgage brokers that will send out new homes card, just going to Moonpig, have that template, it's branded and it's just very much sent out. Whereas, and people will see that, but then, which is nothing wrong with that. And that's part of your process and what you're doing. Then that's great. You are saying thank you. There's nothing wrong with saying thank you. Let me just be clear on that. But I think what you're doing at that little bit step further, which is making it, it's just far more personable, like you say. It's just more of a human being touch than actually Moonpig or Funky and other, obviously, card producers are available. But it's just a case of and it's just that local community thing that you're getting with regards to then that other business will, and if they know somebody, they'll be referring to you, sort of saying, "Oh, you need to speak to Hayley. Hayley does this," and it's just then that sort of everybody's helping each other out without that sort of real. Do you know, like, I'm not a fan of. I'm not. This is sort of going to sound negative, but like, from a networking events kind of thing, it's never been my kind of thing. And I think what you're doing is a perfect way of doing a unorganized network event, really, because you're just sharing each other's businesses within the community.
Yeah, exactly. And I hopefully will get something from it, because they'll share it on their socials, or they'll talk to people about me, and it's just like you say, it is a way of networking, but just in a slightly different way, and hopefully everyone's benefiting at the same time. So
definitely
keep going with that.
Yeah, I know. Like I say, it's good to hear that you are keeping going with that, because I think that will just build your reputation as well and help you to be the chosen broker in your local area, and then that will just expand and expand and expand as you grow. I see a lot on your social media about your reviews. So you've got your testimonials on there. Is that part of your process? Is that something you do every single time? How do you collect those? What sort of thing with your reviews?
Yes. So I always mention it even at my initial kind of conversation. When I'm going through fact find with a client, I will talk about at the beginning how much I would, how important customer service is to me. And I hope that they will be happy with the service that I've provided. And then I always give them a heads up that sort of near the end, I'll ask you to leave me a review. And everyone's always been happy to do that. So I send an email asking them to leave a review if they're happy to. Sometimes people have already done it before I've even had a chance to ask, which has been great. And then I also have some thank you kind of postcards, if you like, that go in my thank you boxes. And there's a QR code on there that they can scan, which takes them straight to the Google review.
Right.
So they can also leave a review that way too.
Right. Okay. Oh, that's like you say. I think the one thing you said in there, which I've caused conflicts in the past with talking about reviews early on in the process. So you're talking about it right at the front end. I'm all for that, because I think if the client, you're doing that, and I'll probably get your take on it in a second of why you're doing that in a little bit more detail, but I would say be doing that because you're setting the stall out from the start to the client to sort of say, I deliver a first class service every single time, and the reviews are important to me, feedback is important to me. And I think if you're promoting that from the start and you've got that as part of your process, and then if you don't ask them for a review or you don't send them the QR code in the pack, then they will be more proactive, thinking, well, why have I not got an opportunity to review Hayley's service? Because you've already set the stall out from the start, and it just manages the process better, and you're more likely to send it out because it's just part of your process. Do you get good reception from clients when you're talking about reviews very early on?
Yeah, everyone's always super open to it, and I've never had anybody sort of question it. I always say that your review and your recommendation is the most important thing to me, and it is. And you're right, I do it at the beginning purely because I'm that confident that I am going to do the right thing for this client. I am going to provide a fantastic service. So I'm not worried. Why would I be? I'm not worried to put that out there early on. And I hope that what I commit to doing, and I deliver on that, will speak volumes, and therefore they'll feel inclined to refer me or to write about that in a review.
Absolutely, no, totally. And I think it's you've been proactive by telling people that your clients that you are going to be asking for feedback, is just, like I say, it just proves that you are proud in terms of the service you provide. And I think that sometimes, from what I'm getting from you with that, Hayley, is that sometimes, especially when you're first starting out as a mortgage broker, you can focus a lot on the income and not worry too much about the service. And I've talked about this umpteen times before. Whereas for me, you've always got to focus on the service, and the income will come later. The income will happen if you're providing the right service. So is that something, your take on that as well? Is that something you believe in?
Yeah, 100%. Exactly what you said is exactly how I feel. And you know, people buy people, and I would rather provide a fantastic service and know that that person's going to come back to me than kind of do a one-hit wonder, get a bit of money from it, and move on to the next. That's just not me. That's just not really what I'm trying to create here. So yeah, I definitely gave that some thought before I launched the company. And I thought, you know, what is it that people want from their broker? I spoke to friends and family who have used brokers in the past. I myself have used brokers for my own mortgage in the past. And then I also ask my clients if they've used a broker in the past. I'll always ask, why have you not gone back to them? And the main things that I've got from people is time is taken to get responses. So taking too long to get replied back to, questions taking too long to get responses back to as well. Feeling like the broker's taken too much on, and that they've got a lot of clients, and actually maybe they just feel like a small fish in a big pond. So it's losing that personal element, and not feeling listened to was one that I've had a few times, that I've asked for this and it's not happened, or I've asked for this and they did something different. So those kind of things are things that I think about that actually I believe I would have done differently anyway, naturally, just because of who I am and my ethics and how I am anyway. But by knowing that information, I guess I'm more aware. So I do take pride in responding quickly and promptly, and using different channels to speak to people in a way that they want to, whether that's email, Insta, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, whatever it might be, that's the client's choice. Being always upfront and honest and open. And you know, if you haven't got the opportunity to respond, just to say, I've read your message, I'm going to be getting back to you by this time, and stick to what you've committed to. Just because I want to do the opposite to what they had as a bad experience from before.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, if you're asking them what the bad experience was, and then that's just an easy, I'm saying it's easy, it's a difficult thing to ask for some people, but once you've got that feedback of the reason why they're not with that broker now and they've chosen to use you, then, and you understand what their pinch points were, where the pain was for them, well, you just make sure that doesn't happen and you go totally opposite. It's the same with everything that you do. It's like the brokers that I work with, they'll sort of say they've been overpromised, under-delivered before. Well, I just make sure I don't do that. It's not hard, is it? It's not rocket science in terms of, and I think the way that you're working, Hayley, with that is that it's, like I say, focusing on the service, because looking at this, you're clearly looking to build a long-term business here. And yeah, you've got no plans to move away from NatWest, and you're doing this with feet in both camps, shall we say, and you're building a long-term thing. But I think service is the key with it, and you're looking to give the right service for the client, which will then retain that client for life, which is what every broker needs to be doing and should be doing, but doesn't do, because they'll just get the client, do all the things, the feedback you've got from those clients, might get that instant transaction today, but then they won't get the remortgage, or the protection might get rebroked, or they won't get the other services that they offer, purely because they've not delivered the service, not listened to the client. And do you think listening to the client, because, and my take on that would be, and I'm interested to get your take on it, is clients don't feel as though they're listened to a lot of the time, because the broker, like what you're saying there, if a client thinks that, and the feedback is that broker's got too much on, how do they know? How is that because the broker's told them that? And if that's the case, that's criminal. Like, why would you tell a client that you've got too much on? They don't care. Like, why does a broker think that that client cares about how many? And I've, outside of that space, outside of the mortgage broker space, I've experienced this from a personal level recently. And like my feedback to that, like they were sort of saying they were really busy, they got too much on. And I was like, part of that, I don't care. Like the service you're providing me is not, you've done everything that I'm against, which is you've overpromised, under-delivered. You've not treated me like I feel as though like I'm very important as a client because you're too busy and you're just not getting back to me and doing all the things that you shouldn't be doing as a business owner. And
Mm.
so for you, it's sort of like that's a thing that you sort of I'm taking from that is that you retention of your client is important to you.
Hmm. Oh, definitely, yeah. And I think you have to be proactive as well. You can't just expect your client to come back to you. So, I do intend to keep hold of details, have some sort of tracker in place so that as and when people's mortgages are coming up for renewal, I'm proactively contacting them.
Right. Good.
Because I think a lot of the time people probably just hope that they're going to come back, and actually they probably don't.
Yeah.
So I do think there's an element of you needing, or like me, needing to be proactive as well.
No, definitely. It's a great way to think because you're absolutely right. Hayley, you're thinking, oh, I did a great job for them 4 years ago, 2 years ago. They'll forget you. They will forget you if you're not in contact with them.
Yeah.
And absolutely. So it is all about the retention as well. So we've talked about your past in terms of where you came from and the starting off with the tiny mortgage company. What does the future look like then for you and your business? What?
I hope it's just going to grow from here on, really. I hope that my confidence will continue to grow with it. There has been times when that self-doubt creeps in and you think, can I really do this? How far could this really go? But I like to think that, as I say, my confidence will continue to grow. I do have some long-term goals and aspirations. Whether or not it will happen, I don't know. But I'd love to eventually, go further with this. Maybe inspire somebody else to be able to become a broker too, maybe alongside me or something along those lines. I'd love to support another. Not that I'm being biased or anywhere in any way, or not opening up to men, but I'd love to be able to support another woman, maybe another young mum, and to be able to make their dream and goal reality, and with my support. But that's like long term down the line is kind of where I'd love to go with that. But it's good to have aspirations.
Absolutely, and it is good to have aspirations. You've clearly got to, is it say focus on the now and what you're doing right now. Yeah, totally agree with that because it's very early stages, but there's no harm in having because when anybody ever sets out to anything, they've got a long term, whether they know it or not, they've got a long term goal. Generally, with things that are like fundamental, like setting up, going self-employed, or moving home, or whatever they're doing, there's quite a big life-changing kind of experience like you've had. There will be some sort of future aspirations in there, and I appreciate you sharing that because, like you say, it's important to have those goals so you know which sort of path you're going down and what you're looking to achieve. So I think that probably I was going to ask you anything else, but probably that's enough with everything else that's sort of going on right now in terms of your business and being employed and being a mum as well. So
Yeah.
cool. Anything else we've not talked about that you want to talk about, or anything else that sort of we want to pick up, or anything like that, Hayley? No.
No, the only other thing that I wanted to kind of mention that is a challenge, which I'm sure through your experience, hopefully you'll tell me is something that others sort of have to deal with, is for some reason I've always struggled with asking for people to pay me for my services.
Right.
And that's just another thing that I'm working on, really. I guess I just wanted to mention it because I know that other people probably might feel the same way. That when you get to that element, we've got to talk about fees and, this is how much it costs to use my services. For some reason, it still gives me anxiety. But it gets better. I feel like I've got a lot more of a structured sort of like fee plan now, and having a little bit of more pride, I guess, in saying, you know what, this is how much my services are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's for a good reason. But that was the only thing I made a note of that I thought, I wonder if others feel the same way.
They will, and I know that people do in terms of when you're talking about fees. You will always hear about the "I'm free, I don't charge a mortgage." You'll always hear those people that promote that they don't charge a fee. My stance on it, and I work with people that don't charge a fee. I work with people that do charge a fee. I do believe you should charge a fee for your services because it's an important part. It's a vital part of somebody's life that you're interacting with. And I think if you're paying a fee, being charged a fee, and justifying that fee for what you do in terms of getting that person into that dream home, whatever you're looking to do. Because I'm not saying fee-free brokers don't do that either, but my just take on it is that, and it is that you should be charging a fee. Yes, it can be a difficult one to approach, especially if you're dealing with friends, family, local ones, and things like that. And I think with regards to friends, it's a difficult one because they can, well, you can do that for free, Hayley. So, well, I wouldn't, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't charge you a fee. I think I've got this the right way around, but if I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't charge a fee, because the service I provide for all my other clients deserves having a fee. So, and I want you to have that same service that everybody else gets, kind of thing. But I think it is one of those where you keep in working. I will always sort of say benefits before costs. I think that's the big thing for the fees, explaining what you do, how you do it very early on in the process, to sort of talking about that of, this is what I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to do it, this is the benefits of using it, and all the things you've talked about. You use that to your advantage of why you're charging a fee, because you like you say, they not getting back, taking too much on, then you can justify your fee based on, you just tell them, give them back what they've told you why they sat with you in the first place. Is that, yep, I'm not going to do that. Yes, I'll do this. No, I won't do that like they did. I'll be doing this. I'll be doing this. And for that, yeah, you're going to be charged this. And that's just sort of a natural thing. That's, well, and it doesn't even get asked or discussed or anything like that. It's a case of, well, that's my fee. And it's just,
that's great. I've never had one person go, no, I'm not paying that. Everyone, I'm very reasonable. You know, I really am conscious that I don't have crazy high fees. If anything, they're probably a lot lower than they should be. But I stand by the fact that you get what you pay for. I've got to remember that myself sometimes when I'm talking to clients about fees. But that's been my biggest challenge to overcome. But I'm getting there.
It's something to work. I thought you were going to say about getting, so they already know that they're paying a fee, but then invoicing the client and getting paid by the client. But that's another story altogether.
Yeah, so, completely different.
Hayley, it was great to get you on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing very honestly your journey so far. I'm looking forward to sort of seeing, I see you on social media. We're connected on social media. I see your brand, which I absolutely love. I see obviously your business that is going really well. I'm just looking forward to sort of seeing that journey and where you go. But thank you so much for sharing that on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast, the podcast which helps mortgage brokers at all stages of their mortgage broking career. If you have any questions about this podcast or any topics you want us to discuss, or if you're interested in working with me further, then please get in touch.